Hello, Twitch chat and YouTube. This is a Saturday vintage challenge on 10/17, 1 week before Eternal Weekend Vintage on Magic Online. We're gonna do something fun today. I've been working and trying out the Blue Splash in HogaakVine, and I'm pretty happy with it. You basically get to play Ancestral and Time Walk as your flex slots, instead of things like Cabal Therapy and Collector Oof. So these are my flex slots, and then I also cut one of the Force of Vigors from the main to play a Forest. This is because there's like decks playing 4 Ghost Quarters and decks playing 4 Assassin's Trophies, and I think that a Forest is like pretty good in this deck right now. And I don't really think you need 4 Force of Vigor in the main. It's just kind of a hedge that lets you play some games versus PO and chops, but it's not, I wouldn't say necessary. You do want 4 Force of Vigor in your 75, but I think that subbing one of the Force of Vigors out for a Forest seems pretty legit to me. And then I'm playing a mana base that supports Ancestral and Time Walk as my flex slots. The sideboard, actually, I tried to make it still the same. So I put the Savannah in the sideboard so I could still play 4 Deafening Silence. Some people play Flusterstorm in the blue deck. I don't like Flusterstorm. I think Flusterstorm doesn't really vibe with what you're trying to do in this deck. It's really hard to hold up in a blue mana. I'm really not sold on Flusterstorm being the play from Hogaak. So I would rather try to play my Deafening Silences, and to do that I have to splash the Savannah in the sideboard. No, they're playing 4 Ghost Quarters and 4 Wastelands and a Strip Mine. That's just what the shops decks look like right now. Yeah, and as I said last week, I am planning on streaming every single Eternal Weekend event for Vintage next weekend. So that's going to be, oh my lord, probably 30 rounds of Vintage in one weekend. So it's going to be wild. I think that's all I wanted to say about this deck. I think that's pretty straightforward compared to a stock list besides the Blue Splash and the basic. So this is round 1 of the Vintage Challenge with Hogaak. 4-color edition. Keep. What a silly deck. Just a free 12 power. It's just a free 16 power. I don't need another Bazaar, and I think I would rather just have this Wasteland so that I can Wasteland next turn. So this is a turn 2 kill because I have 4 power of haste and 3 hollow ones. See if they force this hollow one. Yeah. I'm still gonna play the second hollow one. Cool. Thank you for playing Magic with me. Certainly an example of why Hollow One is silly. Ancestral, not a bad one. That's a pretty sick draw too, actually. There's no reason to do anything other than just Wasteland this island. It's highly unlikely opponent has a Tabernacle in their Ancestral Tropical Force of Will deck, so I don't think you need to hold the Wasteland for any reason. And we've got game 1. All due to my tremendous skill. I'll have you know, no ordinary player could have won that game. Yes. So I'm pretty sure this is Bug, which I think is a pretty reasonable matchup. I thought maybe it's 4-color because I don't see non-basic land. Non-basic. Oh, I typed it in wrong. Huh. I'm pretty sure the last time I saw them, they were on Bug, but it could be 4-color with like Ren and 6 and stuff. Opponent merely had Force of Will Ancestral. That is not good enough in Vintage, okay? I think what I want to do is, like, they usually play ley lines. I want to bring in Vigor, and I want to bring in Assassin's Trophy. I don't know what I want to cut. Because I do actually like Bloodghast in these grindy matchups. And if they're on Assassin's Trophy deck, I would want my Forest. So I'm not 100% sure on where we're supposed to trim here. I think probably Once Upon a Time. It could even be 2 Once Upon a Times. It could just be 1 Once Upon a Time and 1 Hogaak. That kind of makes the most sense to me, actually. Try that. I mean, it was a 2-turn game, or, the game did not last very long. The last time this person played 4-color, they had a Grafdigger's Cage in the main. It's kind of wild. So, it's almost a good hand. Almost. Gonna have to mulligan, though. If I had a Once Upon a Time, I'd probably keep it. Here, I think I just want to get rid of the Wasteland. Yeah, I think I want to get rid of the Wasteland. They're on a mold of 5? I don't hate that. Well, the thing is, I do trim Bloodghast a lot, but I don't like trimming Bloodghast in these matchups because I really do feel like this is the matchup you actually want Bloodghast in. I think there's actually very few matchups you actively want a Bloodghast, and this kind of seems like, at least in my mind, like the Jeskai and Fair decks are the actual matchups that the Bloodghast actually shines. So, like, if you're cutting Bloodghast here, maybe you shouldn't even be playing Bloodghast, right? Alright, well, this is free. I'm hoping they just force it and think we don't have a Bazaar. Okay. Vengevine or Hogaak. All I need to do is hit a Rootwalla or a Hollow Vine to trigger a Hollow one to trigger this Vengevine. Whereas I should be able to play a Hogaak on the next turn through most conventional hate. Surgical and Rav Trap. Well, yeah, through Surgical and Rav Trap. I have 7 hits on 2 cards in 48. I feel like that's not good enough. And I can't get Rav Trap to this turn because I'm going to put in a Root Wall probably. I'm going to go with a Hogaak here. I could also just play a Catacombs. I think that's pretty bad, though. I guess I used my Once Upon a Time so I can get Rav Trapped. Is that how Once Upon a Time? It's cards that go in the yard. So I actually can get Rav Trapped here. I think I almost wanted to just play the Catacombs. So... Man, I don't want to get all of my cards Rav Trapped. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put one of the Bloodghast in the yard right now. And that way, if they Rav Trap, all they hit is a Bloodghast. Maybe that's fine. So next turn... Actually, I kind of screwed this up, right? Because it doesn't look like... With my Bloodghast triggers, I can't play a Hogaak around Rav Trap and Surgical? Is that true? Let's think about this. Well, if I lead with a Verdant Catacombs... Well, that's interesting. I want to do this in a way where I can play around things. So if I go Fetch Land, return Bloodghast, and then I play... I need to have 3 cards in the yard. So I would put a Stitcher Supplier. If I just go Fetch Land, Stitcher Supplier, and cast Hogaak... I don't know if this is the correct play. Well, now I could go Bloodghast. I could activate Bazaar, put Bloodghast, bring the other Bloodghast back into play. I don't hate that, to be honest. The only issue is that gets Rav trapped pretty hard. Whereas if I get Stitcher Supplier, I can just play my Hogaak. I'm just gonna go with the Stitcher Supplier, I think. I'm just gonna buy you. I think. I guess this could get forced, but then I can just activate and play Bazaar. Like if this, okay, so this is gonna get forced. That's kind of interesting. Do I want this to resolve? Yeah, so let this resolve. Activate this. Holy shit, I triggered a Vengevine? That's kind of insane. So if I go Vengevine, Deathrite Shaman, Force of Vigor, cast Hogaak. That's nuts. Alright, so they did have Rap Trap. So we saved our other Bloodghast here. Alright, I think we played that really well. So we did play around Rav Trap. We have a Hogaak, which they can't force because they force Stitcher Supplier. That is a pretty decent example of why I think this deck... Oh, found they have an Ancestral. Why I think this deck has interesting play patterns from my side. They didn't find a land, though. I'm just looking for... Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for here. Is there any reason to do this pre-combat? I can get a land that pumps Rootwalla. Huh. Do I want to put all of these Bloodghasts and then run into a Rav Trap? Doesn't seem necessary. I feel like I can just do 2. They're gonna take 11 and go to 8. No, I think I want this Time Walk in case I just rip a fetch land. So if they have a Rav Trap, they get my 3 Bloodghasts here. They did have a Rav Trap. Okay. Interesting that opponent's on Rav Trap now. I think it's still worth it. Because I have a lethal attack here if I draw a fetch land. If they like killed this Hogaak and I draw a fetch land, maybe I was supposed to oh, it's Oath. Interesting. We didn't even know our opponent was on Oath. I mean, we boarded correctly for Oath though, so. Yeah, that actually went really, really well. And I think we played around this first Rav Trap extremely well. Like they couldn't Rav Trap us on turn 1 because we only showed them 1 Bloodghast, and then the way we sequenced on turn 2 allowed us to play a Hogaak through a Rav Trap. Obviously, they Rav Trapped in this game. They Rav Trapped a Vengevine and triple Bloodghast, but it wasn't even close. This deck does some seriously nutty things if you sequence correctly. Obviously, game 1 doesn't matter what you do. We just had a broken hand. I mean, honestly, not Rip Fnatic. Rip Reckless. Because Reckless had a fucking series of his goddamn life. Reckless and Hylissang did work. Holy shit, is Nemesis bad. That dude needs to get out of that. They need to kick him so badly. They had to kick him last year and they kept him. I really don't understand. I think that guy is like really not very good. And he also has a huge ego and thinks he's good, which makes it worse. Because I started watching the highlights this morning because I couldn't wake up in time. And I watched Reckless and Hylissang just monster them in the first 2 games this morning, and oh boy. All right, so that was a quick win here. It's just gonna be 7 rounds.